couple of quick points in regards to Dr. Young's presentation. I actually saw a few of these glaciers up close and personal when I was in Alaska, and they're pretty impressive beast, if you want to think of it that way. I also have a story in regards to south of Anchorage. There's an area where there was a lot of the till material, and it was very fine, actually, particle. And up there, the tides move in and out by 30 feet. So that's a lot of tide and a lot of water change. If you were standing on some of this material that we're talking about here, and the tide came in, like liquefaction, basically it liquefied that sand. If you sunk into that sand, you can't get out. All right, remember I said 30 feet. So if somebody doesn't figure out how to get you out pretty fast, you're gone. And there were examples of that and a lot of warnings about that. So it's very dangerous stuff when you think about it in regards to liquefaction. The other point that I want to make is that on my way out of church the other day, here's someone saying, you know that we've been really feeling the vibration of our building. This was in a totally separate conversation, so I stopped the lady and said, tell me more, right? It happens to be a person who lives just on the other side of Lake Avenue, and she does a lot of her own work inside her apartment and so on, and there were some walls that had some cracks in it years ago, and they had fixed all the cracks in the wall. Well, the cracks are opening up again, and she can't quite figure out why, but she's feeling a lot of that vibration. Also, when I was down looking at the Marina and taking some of my own pictures, they were using some of that vibratory equipment, and it shook the ground all over. I mean, I was a long ways away from the piece of equipment, and everything shook. You got actually a big echo in regards to the port building and so on. So there are concerns about how you do it. There were other ways of doing it in the past. Dr. Young mentioned to me different kinds of equipment that compacted the land without vibrating it. So that's something that we should be concerned about. And if any of you are near that section, take a look around your house. Make sure everything's in place, okay? All right. Now, I've got a little different story, and many of you may have heard it a few times now because I've talked about it on the different shows that I've been on. It's about the Overlook Bridge. A few years ago, they ended up building a brand new, beautiful bridge, much better, functions much better, and so on. But it took a little bit longer. It took a little bit longer for one big reason. They had planned on building the bridge using a particular foundation type, and I've got a slide showing that. And that's because they thought the slope on the west side of the river, in other words, the slope of the gorge, was about 13 degrees from horizontal. So there's horizontal, 13 degrees a little bit, all right? It's actually 33, all right? Who discovered that? The people that discovered it were the contractors. In this case, it was Crane Hogan because they're the ones who did the work on it, all right? What impact did that have? First of all, it cost them $40 million more to build that bridge, right? $40 million. And the initial fee that they figured they were going to have to pay out was around 63, right? What else happened? It took them an additional 2 years to finish the construction on the bridge. It doubled the time, okay? And they wanted to make sure they were very careful about it, and I've got some pictures that'll show some of the drill shafts that I've talked about in the past is the type of foundation you really need for that kind of a scenario, all right? And they had, I estimate around 28. I was talking with Bo Manzuri, I believe, hopefully I'm not messing up his name too bad. He's a county engineer. He graciously gave me some time on the phone the other day, and he explained a little bit more about what went on. And he said they just missed it. How many more boring holes did they have to do to find the problem that they found late? One. All right? But New York State contractors or builders and engineers and so on, they build these bridges all the time. They have a set pattern in terms of how to do it right. And in probably 99% of the cases, 3 is all they need to figure out the bridge situation. But they did not understand the geology of this river, and that's what got them in trouble. All right? This is actually a slide from their presentation afterwards, these guys were so upfront and honest about the mistake that they documented a lot of the detail in a long PowerPoint presentation, which I have online on my site about all of this. And you can see the 13-degree, 33-degree business that I'm speaking of, right? Original design was a spread footing designed for the foundation. They had to do it 3 rows of reinforced concrete, drilled shafts. Well, what does that look like? Well, you can see it a little bit there. Now, one of the interesting things there, let's see if I can actually, nope. I'm going to try the laser, but I'm not sure I'm hitting it right. The point that I want to make there, if you look at that diagram, the lower line that goes at an angle is the gorge wall. What they had to do, they had to drill down into that wall and to create a socket, in other words, for each one of those piers. And Bo said to me, he says, the reason why we had to do that, we did not want that whole thing at some point in time in the future slide down into the river farther, which obviously would destroy the structure of the bridge itself. All right? Cost them a lot of money. The top slide shows you those drilled shafts. As you can see, for a very small area, they've got a lot of them. All right? Now they're dealing with vibration, of course, of the bridge and so on, but it's a big concern. This is just another angle in terms of seeing those same shafts. All right? And this is just a quick summary. All right? Failed to conduct enough boring tests. How many? Just one. All right? Double the build time. The contractor found this. All right. Now, if you remember my video presentation at the beginning, Mark Greger was saying that, well, there's certain things that we're responsible for, and then there's the contractor, and they have to do more work afterwards. Here's where I have a problem with that. All right. First of all, the marina is costing us $20 million plus to get built. The building, the first building going up is $21 million, but there's several after that, or 3 or 4 after that. The total project is $100 million. If we don't build the buildings, there's not really great justification for the marina. And if you can't build the marina for some reason, and I've talked about that and some other things, there's no justification for the buildings. So you got one dependent on the other, both ways. Why don't you find out the answers you need to find out before you start building anything? And that's been my premise all along, right? You see that the soil's loose and there's a chance for liquefaction here, all right? We know that there's not enough boring tests right where we were talking the first building's going up. Dr. Young showed us that. So let's look at a few of the numbers, just give you a better perspective on all this. City selling the first piece of land at $176,000. The total thing is something like $359,000 they're going to get for the land. Now remember that they're investing our tax dollars to the tune of $20 million plus. All right. Now the good thing, Alex reminds me, Alex is here somewhere, I think. Alex White, yes, he's way in the back. He says, you know, the city normally only gets $1 for the land that it sells. So we're way ahead in this case. I'm not sure how many pieces of land that we sell for $1 that has $20 or $30 million invested in it. Let's see where I am here. Okay. And based on what we know right now, that $20 million in regards to the basin area, it's going to go up. The $21 million for the buildings is probably going to go up. The thing that I scratched my head on today about is the $20 million, $21 million differential there. It's not a lot between building a 10-story building and the whole marina area. And I mean, it would seem to me that it'd take a lot more than $21 million to build a building. If it's costing us $20 million for a marina, which is basically digging a hole and allowing water to come in and putting a series of docks there. So there's something wrong with that number. Where did I get that number? That was in the proposal at City Council that they voted on to go ahead and sell the property to Edgewater. It talks about some of the other things, just a quick recap for all of you if you don't know what they're going to put into that building. They plan on 10 stories, 75,000 roughly square feet, 213 structured parking spaces. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but that's the question, is where are they going to put that? 52-room hotel, a restaurant, event space, 18 residential condominiums. All right. So between the 52 rooms and 18, what, 70 cars right there? Supposedly we'll have, according to that display over in the corner there, 51 underground. Now that presents its own problem. All right. 51 car spaces or a parking lot underground. Somewhere I saw that that parking area was going to be 19 feet below surface. All right? Liquefaction, water, just so corrosive water that's there in the first place is a problem. All right? 5,400 foot square spa, that sounds sort of nice actually. 900 square feet of commercial space, which is not a lot of commercial space. If you thought you were going to have a lot more shops there, 900 feet is not a lot for shops. In the first building anyway. 210 construction jobs. Now I've seen enough of the construction going on right now, the basin area, that there's nowhere near 210 jobs down there. Now maybe obviously with the building going up, there's going to be a lot more involved and so on. But I saw much higher figures elsewhere. All right. And 58 permanent, that might be okay for the hotel. Probably a lot of them part-time though. All right, whoops. I hit the hide button again. So, we have a summary of site understanding a little bit that I put together here. Marina cost $20,000. Projected first building cost is $21,500. Based on extremely limited understanding of bedrock locations, it's going to cost them more money to just find out where the bedrock is. It's going to cause them a lot more headaches and problems about how soft the soil is, which is one of the big reasons why I believe Pike got very nervous about it. And I believe in the paper there was some of that too, to reinforce what I had said about that. So the difficult issues to overcome: liquefaction, local building damage. I mentioned some of that now. There may be more coming as they do more compacting of the soil, if that works even. And the big thing is the unknown depth to bedrock for those buildings. If you don't know how deep it is, you don't know what it's going to cost you for the foundation. And if the O'Rourke Bridge is any indication of what happens when you're not right about that, it could get very, very expensive very, very quickly. There are plenty of studies online. These are two that I referred to, and I was thinking about going into the PDFs for them, but I'll try to save you a little bit of time. Online at the City of Rochester, under the Marina, there are a whole set of PDF reports, a lot of good information. Now, only people like me who are curious about what the heck are they talking about and why don't certain things add up, would get in there reading. I challenge any of you to go ahead and do it. You're going to learn. All right? And what I said in the beginning, it's up to you to know enough about the project so you can speak intelligently to your representatives. The City Council representatives continue to need to hear us. And I'm not sure it's always the best way necessarily to go down to the City Council and speak at a meeting. I'm not sure any of them are paying attention much. If they were, somebody would have called me by now, I would think. All right? I've suggested several times, Mr. Greger, if you believe I am wrong in terms of the information I'm talking about and the information I've disclosed, based on your information, please tell me. I've got broad shoulders. So, as I see it, there are just too many questions still remaining about the site, about the financing too. I didn't even get into the financing. EB5, the city is supposed to serve us. Okay. We do not serve them. Very important point. We do not serve them. They serve us. But if we never say anything about what they're doing, or we don't say it often enough, I've been working at saying it often enough. I haven't hit that critical mass yet, let me tell you. Some of this might help. obviously all of you being here is definitely going to help. And you can't simply trust that they will do the right thing. There's all sorts of dynamics involved in here. Remember, I'm a systems guy, right? It's all those things that you can't control that are always the most dangerous to you when you're trying to build something. And you have to be aware of them. You have to be aware of your environment. If you get too sold on the fact that this has got to work, this is going to be great for Charlotte, sometimes I think you start to miss the key important points that people are bringing up to you. Matter of fact, you tune them out. Greg Wycamp tuned us out a long time ago when he knew he had to build a 10-story building. So he could look at 4-story buildings forever and ever and ever, and he's not going to change his mind on it. Okay? So that's back to us. So I'm at the end, but I want to make one important point here. Dr. Young spent a lot of time here, and I'm sure he gets paid a very good consultant's fee. I know I've spent at least 20 hours a week for a long time, and I'm sure my wife would say, it's much higher than that, and I'll kill you if you continue to do that, okay? I get $95 an hour. So my investment in the research that I have done is big bucks. Dr. Young's reputation by itself means that he's worth a heck of a lot more than I am. Right? Why did we show up tonight? Because we think it's important to become active about a very disconcerting situation. There are big risks, and the city of Rochester has to stop hiding from us what their thoughts are. I'm not saying that they may be right in a lot of cases, but they're not telling anybody. For instance, I have on one of these tables here somewhere a binder that I sent City Council a while ago, right around when they were going to take the vote on selling the property. Okay? Not one person told me, one person happened to mention to me that Mr. Greger sent 4 separate emails to City Council members about my comments and so on. Have I ever seen that? No. I've tried to foil it. And they say, well, it's an interagency communications, we're not going to give it to you. Okay? I don't know what was in those emails, but it had to influence their vote a little bit, although most of the time, if you look at the history of City Council, it doesn't make any difference what they vote on. All of them vote yes. All right? The other thing that it doesn't make any, that I haven't seen in regards to City Council votes, they aren't voting ever yes on not spending money or reducing the amount of money. They continue to spend money. That's because we, the citizens, have allowed them to get out of control. And it's just not at City Council level. It's across the board. We've got the state not paying attention to us. We've got the federal government about not paying attention to us. But we can't just go talking with them without our facts in line. Please take the time to think about what you learned tonight. All right. We'll get it online, I'm sure, in the not too distant future. So if you need to review, we'll give you that opportunity. And we're at the end of our presentation now. And one of the things that I want you to do is please give Dr. Young another round of applause for what he's done. And we'll try to handle your questions now.